minister makes me excited about the talks about prospects in the country, about things that are happening. And this is why we exist. We are the Bahamas Agile and Project Management Community. We want to make sure that we are here to support persons who want to be project managers, to support initiatives in the country where we can lend our expertise to bringing those initiatives to fruition. So this is why we are here. We certainly look forward to additional dialogue so that we can make sure that you understand how we can support the initiatives and how we can support persons who may want to be a part of those initiatives as well. And so I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for this evening, Mr. Lee Lambert. Lee Lambert has logged, I'm going to read your whole bio so people know exactly who you are, but it's just one page. Lee Lambert has logged 50 plus years of project management experience and is considered one of the world's thought leaders on project management methods and how they can be utilized to create and sustain value-added leadership and collaboration capabilities. He is one of only 70 in the world to receive the honor of PMI Fellow. Lee is a past president of the Central Ohio PMI and was one of the founders of the Project Management Institute's Project Management Professional PMP credential. His book, Project Management, The Common Sense Approach, is a bestseller in the field. At 37 years old, Lee was named VP of Staff and Organizational Development for one of the world's largest contract research organizations, where he was responsible for creating and implementing a leadership development program focused on improved performance for project managers and supporting functional line managers. During his decades of platform training, Mr. Lambert has provided learning opportunities to more than 50,000 professionals in 23 countries. He is regularly called upon to provide keynote presentations on leadership, communications, and other project management topics. Before his years as VP, Mr. Lambert was a project management evangelist at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and General Electric. Please help me welcome Mr. Lee Lambert.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome. That's just the way I wrote it. Exactly. And it really was good. But let me interpret for you. First of all, I got to tell you, I do this a lot. And whenever I see this many students in a group, I know there's two things going on. You're either getting extra credit or you're getting out of class, one or the other. It's kind of, but I'm going to try to convince you that you're glad you came. Before I talk about what this is, I think it's important for you to understand why you need to think seriously about what I'm going to say today. Recent studies have come out to say that in the next 5 to 7 years, the world, a little larger than Bahamas, the world will need about 25 million new project management people. Now, I got to tell you, project management is a very sophisticated process, but yet simplistic, and you make a lot of money, which is not bad. You make a lot of money. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities. Now, what I've done, I'm on a 2-year mission to go around the world, meeting with groups like this and the people that are online to try to not convince you, but try to make you aware of the possibilities associated with this career choice. I have a master's from George Washington University, not in project management, and I gravitated to it because I started to see things that I like. So I want to make sure you realize what I'm going to talk about here has relevance. It's not a prepared speech because I don't do prepared speeches. It's an opportunity for you to be prepared at the end to ask some pretty difficult questions. And I have answers for every question you could ask. There aren't, I mean, there's one in the back going, no, it doesn't. Yes, I do. I have answers for every question you could ask. I'm very confident of that. I've been doing this for 55 years. I'm pretty sure I do. But if I don't have the answer, you don't know the answer, you wouldn't be asking a question, so I can say anything I want, you'll believe me. And that's one of the things I like about what I do. So let me give you some insights into this business. I do a lot of work in the Middle East. I've found a real home there. They have a lot of very, very complex projects going on in the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia. Right now, they're building a new city. I don't know if you probably haven't really heard about it, called Noam. It's about 111 miles straight down, 3 stories high, and goes forever. And that's a new city, and that's going to be. They're going to have that done, they say, by 2030. That's the most unique project anybody's ever seen. Nobody gives them a chance to finish it on time because there's so much new innovation going on. But the project manager for that particular project is one of the highest ranking government officials in the government. And the press make you look good. As a person that has a job responsibility, project management helps you accomplish that. When you accomplish that, you feel good. You accomplish that, you get more money. I mean, all the stuff that goes along with that. If you suck at it, you don't get much. So you need to really look at how can I become better at what I do, okay? So that's sort of in a nutshell what I do. I've so far in my tour, as I said, I'm in the 2nd year of my tour. I have gone to 30 countries and made lectures for approximately 100,000 people. Not all as intently interested as I can see you are, but yet the interest, okay? And so what I find out of each one of those presentations is really nothing new. I see people who are very interested in what is this all about, what's in it for me, and I think now that I get to know the Bahama area a little bit better, this is my first trip here. I'm, like almost 40 years old. This is my first trip. So I'm excited to be here, but I didn't realize what I was going to find here. I thought it was some archaic island where people, didn't know much about anything. And so far I've been really surprised because people are asking me questions. I'm having a hard time with them. But what I found was the economy here is at such a state that if we don't supply project managers to manage these projects that are costing the government a lot of money in many cases, or private industry, the Bahamas will not survive as they wish they would. I just came from Benin, Africa. They have $21 billion that they're trying to look for ways to spend it on projects in Benin. And one of the ways they're doing that is training hundreds of project managers so they're ready to implement those projects. They'll have locals to run them. They started to bring in third-party contractors, don't know the culture, didn't know the language that well, and didn't really give a darn about Benin. And so that was the most relevant country that I've seen. You probably know them. How many of you eat cashews? How many of you eat cashews? Don't be afraid. It's okay. Okay, cashews. Well, just so you know, Benin produces 90% of the world's cashews. I got to tour the new facility that they're building in Benin. I left there with suitcases full of cashews. They have got streamlined most of their equipment made in Vietnam. One of the advantages of project management, it takes all these various players from all over the world, brings them together to produce a project. So it's a very important part of the process. The second most important part is in this room right now, the people. When I'm done, you'll understand the process somewhat. What you may not fully grasp is the relevance that you play as an individual, as a project manager. And so we'll try to get through that process. And if you have questions, please ask me as we get to the end of the program. I've put a little slide up here for you because we have to mention Agile because that's really why I'm here. Project management was the foundational piece, but now as time has gone on, we've added other capabilities, and I'll explain those to you. We've added things like Agile. You hear Agile, that term a lot. Agile, and then there's the Scrum, and then there's Kanban, and I mean, there's so many things. I can't keep them all straight. I just like to call them project management. But let me give you an example of why you need to think about this. Everything you do is a project. Now, it was kind of interesting to watch tonight as you sauntered in, some of you. What I would say to those people who came in late is your project is late. You had a project to do, and that was to get here on time. Project's late. Project's late. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Everything's a project. Everything you do is a project. It has a start, it has a finish, and it has a bunch of stuff in between. That's what a project is. It can be very complex, like building a whole new city like Saudi Arabia. It can be very simplistic in terms of writing a very small program for use in personal application. So you've got to look at it from that perspective. So what I want to point out to you is planning is key to all of this. Everything we talk about is planning. One of the mistakes that we've made in America is that we got to thinking that we were so smart that we didn't need to plan. And we just started to execute, just started to build, just started to put things together. And when we got all done, they didn't look like they were supposed to look. That's because we need to plan. And I think until we understand that, until we devote the time that's necessary to plan, we're going to continue to see not necessarily bad results, but late results, more expensive results than we planned on, and things are not going to be adequately developed for the country of the Bahamas. And it's as simple as that. And so we look at that from that standpoint. Now, I actually used to manage projects for a while until one of the things I found out early on in life is I really don't like work. That was one of the things that hit me very early in my career. And then, so the reason I fell in love with project management is, my view again, project managers don't do work. They get work done through others. You see, the theory is, if I can take one person and they can motivate, stimulate, and get 10 people going, rather than them working as hard as they've ever worked in their life, that's more productive and more effective. So being a project manager doesn't mean you're going to be doing a lot of work yourself, physical hand work. You're going to be doing mental work. And that's where you kind of play with using these ideas of motivating people by helping them understand what do we need to do. If you think about your, how many of you have children? I'm sorry. But for those of you who have children, think about it when you were teaching them how to ride their bike, okay? Did you just sit them on there and say, go? No, you did. Well, some of us did. I guess you wouldn't want to do that because you haven't taught them anything. They don't know what that is. Just saying, go ride your bike, son. That doesn't mean a whole lot. Projects are exactly the same way. When we start to talk about executing a project and we give that project to some individual on our team and they go, what's this? That's a failure to plan. So we need to take the time to understand what is the deliverable? What is the deliverable? Now, we do things for a reason. And let's check the honesty of the group. How many of you are going to school? Well, let me just say, how many are going to school now? How many of you wish you weren't going to school now? Okay. Well, it seems consistent. That's good. So if you look at that, though, let me ask you this. Why are you going to school? You want to eat? You want to eat? Is that what you said? We want to eat? Well, that's not a bad reason, really. But here's the difference. Project managers eat caviar. Okay? Project managers eat the good stuff. And your school is a way to get to that. But here's what I've learned a long time ago. If I take a motivated student, whoever that might be, and start to talk to them seriously about the potential associated with project management, eyes start to light up. Because you start to talk about what you can accomplish, what you can see done. Seeing something done in front of your face gives you a sense of accomplishment like nothing else. And then when you get paid, I'm talking about big money, I'm talking $3-4 an hour. These guys they're making the big money. So you want to look for opportunities where in a country like the Bahamas, how can I as an individual make a difference in this country? That's a key question to ask yourself. You're not just going to school for the heck of it. You're not just going to get that degree. That degree is not really that important if you're not accomplishing something. And so you want to look at it from that standpoint. That's why I'm here tonight, is to try to get you enthusiastic about what comes after the classroom. And you'll find that you're going to start to use some of these techniques in the classroom. They're going to help you get some of your studies done along with the other things you've got to accomplish. So let me tell you a little bit more about the idea of project management. Then I got to get to Agile and Kanban, and I mean, I forget all the terms. But here's the thing. Planning, there's 5 phases, really. You identify what it is you want to do. Okay, that seems reasonable. Then you plan it. And then you resource it. You decide how am I going to pay for it, or who's going to do it, okay? Then as you start to move through the process, let's say it's a 1-year project. When do you decide to take a look at how we're doing against the plan? We plan, that's second stage, plan, third phase, resource. And when I'm done with that, I have a plan, an integrated plan with budgets spread over time, resources spread over time. Then when I get to that 4th phase, it's called statusing. Now, what goes on in statusing? How long do I have? What goes on in statusing? This is hard. College students, I know. What goes on in statusing is you status. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's why we call it statusing. And that is comparing where we are today with where we thought we'd be today, okay? Now, the beauty of Agile, it's coming. The beauty of Agile is rather than wait till midway through a 1-year project or 9 months through a 1-year project before we take a good hard look at status, you're doing that on a regular basis. Some will say a 2-week basis, some will say a 4-week basis. The beauty of that is this. You can't go very far off from plan in a short period of time. But if you wait till 6 months or 9 months into a 1-year project, you could be missing the point completely. And so the Agile is brought to this idea that, hey, we don't want to wait. We don't want to wait until we screwed up. We don't want to wait that long. We want to review status on a regular basis. And that way, then we can make adjustments if we need to get to where we want at the end. The other difference is we don't generally plan in detail the entire plan of the process. In other words, we plan in detail short periods of time, but in generalities out periods of time. That saves a lot of time for people doing the work. We call it rework. Because if you don't do Agile thinking, you'll end up with rework. There's no question in my mind about that, because nobody knows enough to do it without a plan and without statusing against that plan regularly. But yet we see it all the time. I work with pretty big companies. You've heard of some of these. You may have heard of IBM. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've trained about 30,000 IBM people. And they're really, really smart, but they're stupid at the same time, which is kind of an anomaly. But nonetheless, and the reason I say that, with the most respect possible, the reason I say that is because they are so busy doing, they don't take time to check. They don't have time to look at how are we. It doesn't matter if we're going fast. Are we getting the right things done? I don't know, but we're going to be there sooner than anybody else. And so all of a sudden you begin to realize this is a part of the process we need to take advantage of. Yeah, you do it in your classwork. When you're midterm and you see you got a C, do you change your approach? Well, some of you do. Yeah, some of you do, because you can see if I've got a C and I wanted an A and I need an A to go where I want to go, and at mid-course I got a C, we're in trouble. And what you do is you modify your behavior. you modify what it is you're doing that will result in that A instead of a C. And that's basically what we're talking about as we look at that and understand how this all fits together, okay? Now, I don't think that this is that complicated. Now, I was going to say I make a heck of a lot of money for doing this, but I don't make a dime. I don't make a dime. My 2-year mission is free. I'm spending my time coming to locations like this, investing my time to see if I can add value to what it is we're trying to accomplish within our country. How to make it a better place, how to make it be a place where people want to come and want to stay. And we do that by the amount of projects and the quality of the projects that we run. And if we don't do that, then we'll just be another small island country like a lot of others that are around. So if we want to make that kind of an investment, if we want to point direction in that way, then we've got to be willing to invest as students or as young adults to making it happen. Now, I lied to you about my age. I'm not 40. Some of you picked up on it, I know. There's some fairly bright people back here in the back. I'm 76, okay? I started managing projects when I was 19. So I've been doing it for a while. Have I ever had a failed project? Yeah, sure. Did I ever tell anybody? No. No, you don't tell people when you fail, you just change it. And so that's how I got into training. I had a project that was very complex, and frankly, I didn't have the technology background to really do a good job, but I knew who to ask. I knew who to talk to. And that's another important for project managers. You don't have to have all the answers, but you need to know where to go get them. Nobody has all the answers, but if I know where I can go get the answer, you're a pretty valuable person. So you want to look at it from that standpoint. Well, so I had this project, and it wasn't a big project. It's $300 million a year. And the project was this. If you've ever seen a nuclear power reactor, you see the steam coming off of the cooling tower. Well, below that cooling tower is the core of the reactor, which is incredibly radioactive. And each time they go through a cycle, they have to replace the fuel that's driving that reactor, okay? That fuel then has to be put somewhere because it has a half-life of about 100,000 years. So it'll be deadly radioactive for that long. So here's my project. Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put it? That was my project. And so the U.S. government came to me and said, well, there were a few other people involved, came to me and said, we need to figure out where can we bury this radioactive waste from these reactors, because all of the reactors their on-site storage is full. So fundamentally, it could mean the shutdown of the nuclear power in the United States because we don't know where to put the radioactive material. So Lee, would you help us out? Would you help us out do that? So we said, okay, look, here's what we'll do. We want to look at 5 geological sites where we can bury high-level radioactive waste, and it can be contained there for as long as any of us are alive, for sure, safely. And that was my job, okay? So and basically what it is it came out to 5 jobs. What this is really is a program with 5 projects below it, okay? And so we did $300 million a year in research, looking at all these geologic sites and how will the public react to having high-level radioactive waste in their backyard, all of those variables, and because of the big push now on no fossil fuel. I mean, you all know that. I mean, we're going to be done using fossil fuel. Never. But they're safe. We're trying to do that. So we can't give up nuclear. Nuclear is the cleanest, safest power base that we've got, but yet we're going to have to if we don't have a place to store the stuff. So we went through all this excitement of determining where are we going to dump it, okay? And we designed special casks to hold all the fuel rods and all the good things that go along with that. So we narrowed it down to 3 sites. And then finally, we narrowed it down to 2 sites. And then we decided we're going to put this stuff, which will kill you in a very short period of time if you're exposed to it. We're going to give this stuff to the state of Nevada. I mean, why not? They got Vegas, give them the waste too. And so we're going to give it to them. We're going to bury it there because they have a long record of supporting government activities with projects. I've been out on Area 51, if you've ever heard of that. I should tell you about it, but then they'd have to kill me. It's not an open for the public kind of place, but the fact of the matter is they've been so warm to the public, to the government in terms of utilization of that property that we felt certain they would go along with it. Well, the government did go along with it. It's a basalt formation, and we selected that location and announced it to the public, and the public went crazy. All these people who lived in Nevada all this time, who knew Area 51 was just a few miles away, all of a sudden decided they didn't want all that radioactive waste in their background. So what do you think it is now? It's right where it was when we started looking. They're still storing it on site. If you're ever driving on the coast in the U.S., don't drive too close to the reactor, please. It's still stored on site. So we don't know what's going to happen with nuclear power. If that's not answered, we spent like almost $2 billion trying to answer the question, and we still don't have an answer. That's a project, okay? It's also a project when you find out, what am I going to do to fund the Little League team? Well, who do I need to talk to fund the Little League team? What starts out? Just like this organization. 2 years ago, I met with what's your name again? With Andrea, and I said, well, what are you doing? Why don't you get this thing kicked off? I mean, there's a big need in the Bahamas. And I'll be darned if she didn't do it. She didn't do it. So she's taken the initiative to start to do something that's going to help this country and help the people in it to be more effective and contribute much more to society than they may have before that. And so when you look at what this group that she's put together, 700 people is a lot of people. Okay, now, and the beauty of this is, and I'm going to take this back to a national organization, it's generally international. So it's a chapter of people from all over the world. So every time they have one of their meetups, they've got people from all over the world participating. And from that participation, guess what happens? Dialogue, interchange, references, people talking about, well, what'd you do when that happened? That's where we learn things. I mean, I didn't know everything I know. I didn't know half what I know now. Most of the rest of it I picked up from talking. I mean, I could talk to you and learn stuff that you wouldn't want me to know. Yeah, see, you're a little worried now because I start asking questions. That's the way you learn. You learn from people that been there, done that, got the T-shirt. And I have about 200 T-shirts at home. And they're all different sizes because so have I been. So we want to look at it from that perspective. Now, I've used this slide because there's a misnomer that has to be clarified. Everybody seemed to think in the beginning that if we used Agile, our projects would be done faster and better, meaning higher quality, okay? That was the thought. This was created, and you've been saying 30 years, this actually created officially in 2001. So we're in the 22nd year of this concept we call Agile. And it's such a simplistic concept that why it took 13 extreme programmers to spend 4 weeks writing it, I'm not sure. But basically what it said is what I proposed to you earlier. When I start something, let's not wait till we're too far into it. Let's check as soon as we can. Let's see if the kid's fallen off the bike and broke his leg, or has he just stumbled a little, okay, we'll catch him, okay? That's what we want to get to in everything that we do. And everything, our life is an agile process. When you drive, I gotta tell you, I've driven in a lot of places. But I ain't driving here. There's no way in the world you're putting me. Not only are they crazy drivers, you're driving on the wrong damn side of the road. So you got to understand that you learn from those things, and that's how I learned I'm not driving here. First time I rode with her for about, I don't know, half a mile. I said, let me out. Let me out of here. I'll walk. So you learn from that process. So when people start saying, well, let's use Agile because that's going to be a lot faster because we kind of do a lot of things at once. We do keep doing a lot of faster. Well, it would be faster, but your quality gets impacted if you aren't doing all the right things. If you aren't, we used to call it, when I was young, we used to call it learning curve. When you do something and then you check to see what you did and what worked you want to do again, what didn't work you quit doing, we call it learning curve. Agile created a whole new dialogue. And it's just earth-shaking to me. They instead of learning curve, this is what separates it. Instead of learning curve, they call it retrospective. Let me interpret for you. Learning curve, okay? And it basically says at some point in time, we're going to conduct a retrospective on this particular activity, and we're going to see what's going well and what isn't going well, and what do we need to do to adjust it. There's 3 questions Agile people ask. 3 questions. If you can't get these 3 right, stay in school. Okay, here's the first question is, when you get together, I should say, we meet often. This is a key aspect of Agile. We have the people that are involved, the people that have a role to play, they meet frequently. We call them stand-up meetings, and they can vary from 2 to 4 weeks. But the fact of the matter is people get together, and if you're doing it right, you almost get every day. Daily stand-up meetings, okay? And during that stand-up meeting, you ask 3 questions. And you should be asking yourself this when you go to school. What did I get done today? Okay? Seems reasonable. Okay? Ask yourself right now. Don't say it out loud. What did you get done today? Okay? Cool. Then ask yourself, what have I got to do tomorrow? Pretty good. That's planning, right? But here's the big question. What's going to be in the way of me getting tomorrow's work done? Now we start to look at that and we say, okay, this is proactive. Now we're not going to wait and see if it goes wrong. We're going to proactively avoid it going wrong. So those 3 questions are applicable in anything that you do. I don't care if it's raising kids or if it's building cars. I don't care. It's applicable to every single thing that you do. What have I done? What did I do yesterday? What am I going to do today? And what do I need to have happen to allow me to do that? What's going to be in the way? Now, the key part of that part of the question is this. Some of the people we want to participate in these stand-up meetings are people who actually have the authority to make decisions. So if I come up with something, well, this is what's going to prevent me from, well, what can you do about it? Well, I need the senator here to give me some advice. Yeah, I need a decision out of this guy. Well, this guy's on the phone 3 blocks away, okay? Well, in the stand-up meeting, where is he? He's right there. And as soon as you say, this is what I need, and you explain that to the decision maker, and he or she can do it or not do it. But now you know. So it's about communication from that standpoint. And Agile is, people make fun of me because I've never been a big Agile fan, but the more it's rubbing off on me. I really think it has a valuable addition to society, to your life, as a matter of fact. So you can go out of here, and I don't care if you ever even talk about me talking to you at all. You start thinking about what you do every day. Start thinking about, wait a minute, that's what Lee said I was doing. And then start to do it better and better and better. And that's what you have to do. I learned this in college. They had college when I was younger. I learned it in college. because in high school, high school was not a good experience for me. I did graduate from high school. I think I did. Yeah, I did. I graduated from high school. And my grade point, well, it was really, really small. I don't want to tell you where it was. It was less than 1. At less than 1. So I looked around and I thought to myself, this is not going to work. What I'm going to get in the way of employment, what I'm going to get in the way of opportunities in the future, not going to work. They're not going to give me anything. So I decided to go to school and actually go to school. That was one of the problems with high school. I forgot to go. But I decided I better go. So I finished my career in college with well, it was a bigger number. It was 4.0. 4.0, okay? Not a bad improvement, right? So that's because my mom was going to pay me for A's. And that's the only way I was going to make any money that year. And so I looked at that and I thought, okay, now that I've parlayed my intelligence quotient into output, now what am I going to do with this? So I looked around and the first thing I saw was an engineering opportunity. I had studying was in engineering, okay? So I engineered. And then I was engineer for about a year. And one of the things I noticed about my engineering was I was really bad at it. Really bad. Sucked is the word I use. That seems a little strong, but that's what it was. I was terrible. I don't know if I didn't like it. I don't know what the reason was, but I'll tell you a lot. I would never want to be in a building I designed. Okay? So I know that for sure. And so I looked around and I went to see a professional counselor about this because I was old enough to get it. And so I found this lady in California that had incredible reviews. I mean, just incredible reviews. So I called her up and I said, I wanted to get with you to see if you could help me sort of figure out where my fit is. And she said, okay. She said, well, I can get you in about 6 months. I said, 6 months? I was thinking maybe tomorrow. No, she said 6 months. I'm very busy, very, very, very busy. So I could have gone to somebody else, but she had such a reputation. So I said, okay, I'll wait 6 months. And I did wait 6 months. So at the end of 6 months, I literally ran into her office. I was so excited to get in there because I'd been putting up with it for 6 months. So I go into her office and she sets me back a little right away. She said, well, okay, listen, I'm glad you could make it. She said, now let's go ahead and get started. What are your objectives? I said, excuse me? I said, what? She said, what are your objectives? I said, well, I thought that's what you did. I said, I thought I'd come to you to help set objectives. And then I said, no, somebody gave you some bad information. She said, that's not what at all what I do. She said, you're going to have to reschedule. I said, no, I'm not rescheduling. You crazy? Not rescheduling? She said, well, if you haven't prepared objectives and how much I can do for you, I'm the one that helps you find out what you need to do to accomplish your objectives. She said, until you get some objectives, you have to reschedule. I said, I'm not rescheduling. I said, while we were talking, some things have come to my mind. And I think that we should go ahead with this. She said, okay, but I don't have a lot of faith in what this is going to turn out. She said, okay, what do you got? What do you got? And I said, okay, I have 2 have come to mind, boom, just like that. I said, the first one, and I'm really just, I don't want to work. And she looked at me with the oddest look on her face, and she said, not at all? I said, well, I prefer not, but if I have to do some of that, I will, but I'd rather not. She said, okay. She said, my career had been moving a little bit, but she said, I see why, maybe you just want a little downtime. I understand. She said, but you said you had 2. What's the other objective? I said, well, this might stymie a little bit too. I want to make a hell of a lot of money. And she said, now, wait a minute. She said, let's recap. Now, if you've ever gone to psychologists, when they say let's recap, you stumped them. They're buying time. Let's recap. So she recapped. She said, let's do it. She said, you don't want to work. You want to make a lot of money. I said, you are good. That is exactly what I said, okay? And so I've been pursuing that ever since. And I get part way sometimes, but most of the time I don't. You need to make up your mind. What do you want to do? And now, when I say don't work, this is what I mentioned earlier. I'm not talking about not working literally. I'm talking about I don't want to change engines. I don't want to do oil. No, I don't want to do anything with my hands. Anything with my hands. Have you seen those mechanics' hands? I mean, I've got a son-in-law that I don't think he's seen skin for years. Because he's a mechanic, okay? Yeah, that's what he does. That's good. Do it then. Don't ask me. I like to do things that are clean. Clean, you know, that you get in the car that's clean. Not overalls and that kind of thing. But I always have to be careful because somebody in this room may say, well, gee, I love being a mechanic. Yeah, be one. Be the best one you can be. And if that satisfies your personal needs and your family needs, be one. I'm giving you an option. I'm telling you that you can make a lot of money. You can be very satisfied in accomplishment by working in the field of project management. And as that field blossoms, as we talk about 25 million new project managers over the next few years, there's going to be opportunities for everybody. Anybody that thinks they'd like to be a project manager should investigate that. I'm not telling any of you go out of here tonight and say, yeah, I'm going to be a project manager, because you don't know for sure yet what that is. Investigate it. Look into it. Look at the options. Because as I saw in Africa, as I see in Saudi Arabia, people who would have never guessed they'd be a project manager are absolutely loving what they do. And that's what you've got to look at. I can't make you be a project manager, but I can expose you to the fact that if you are, there's a high probability you're going to be very satisfied with your life. So that's what I think you need to understand, is how that all fits together. Now, next question. How many, well, you're too young. I don't know about this. I'll try. How many of you know what you want to be when you grow up? Okay. All right, so we have 3 liars. That's pretty good. Usually there's more than that. I know when I was your age, I didn't know what I was going to be, and I would have never been exposed to anything like this. So take this as an opportunity to inflect it. Look inside yourself and see what does this have to offer. Think about what you do on a regular basis, and when you're all done, you're going to go, well, hell, that's project management. Well, go apply it to a more sophisticated application. Go apply it to something where, if you look at, I do this all the time because I travel around the world, I look at the want ads of papers all over the world. And I'm fluent in one language, so I have a little trouble, and that's even questionable sometimes. So I have to look at these want ads in a way that I pick up keywords, and everywhere I go, more than 50% of the want ads in these international papers are project management jobs. If I knew 30 people right now today that were project managers that spoke French, I could have you a job in Benin, Africa that would knock your socks off. I spent enough time there to know I could live there. They're needing desperately project managers because they don't want to hire them from outside. They want to grow them from inside. And that's what's happening here in the Bahamas. We're looking at an opportunity where we can create a whole infrastructure of project management people to satisfy the projects that are going on in this country. It's the future of the country. And that's what we've got to take a look at. So the way that we talk about that is that there's a lot of approaches. That's why we give them different names, and they all have a place. I agree, they all have a place. I'm not an expert in what's that? Oh, yeah. Oh, Kanban, yeah. Kanban, I don't know for sure what that is, but it sounds fun when I say it, Kanban. Whatever I don't know about all those. I'm not even sure I'm a big believer in Agile. But it has its values. It has its values. It adds value. But what gets confused is when we talk about project management, it isn't all of those things. Project management, if you want to say, look at it as a family tree, project management's up here, but all the children are down here. The scrums and the kanbans and all the things that are a derivative of project management. And what those derivatives are ways to do it better than we did it before. Better than we did it before. Now, again, I've been doing it for 55 years. It's kind of hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So I have to be tolerant of the Agile people, but I am coming around. So you got to think about that and how it might fit in your career plans. I don't know, trying to think what level, where are you career-wise, not career-wise, college-wise, what year? Junior, sophomore, senior? No, wait a minute, you can't all say it at once. How many, okay, I have to do it this way. How many are sophomores? 2. How many are juniors? Oh, and here they're going, yeah, I'm almost done. I'm almost out of here, man. And how many seniors? Okay, you're the ones I got to talk to. Wake up, man. It's time. It's time. There ain't no post-senior. Well, you can stall. My daughter, I had a daughter that graduated from college, and I thought, well, you gonna get a job? She said, hell no, I'm going back to school. I'm not getting no job. What do you want to think? I'm crazy? So you have to make a decision. But if you got to work, this is not a bad field. Not a bad place to check in. So if you think about that, that's what you need to be realized. Those of you that are sophomores and even juniors, you got time. You got time to sort this through. But don't just blow it off. I'll stand outside and listen to what you say when you go out. And the last time I did that, I had to wrestle some lady to the ground. I couldn't believe she said, what is that guy even talking about? She was down in a heartbeat. And so you've got to recognize that you got to want it. I can't make you want it. Okay, you got to want it. You need to trust me. I'm trustworthy. I wouldn't lie to you. I believe in what I say, obviously. And I think it's good for you. I think you have wonderful opportunities ahead of you. When I think about, I don't know what your budget is in the next couple of years, but I bet it's a lot of money for improvement projects, for expansion, for infrastructure, you name it. Well, who's going to run those projects? Oh, we'll get some people from the mainland. The hell you will. Why would you do that? When you got people right here in the Bahamas that can do it for you and make a good salary and raise a nice family all at the same time. Yeah, thank you. I agree. I'm telling you, these countries I go to, almost every single country, all they talk about is how can I bring third parties in? Yes. How can I bring people in from Australia, from India, from, what's the matter with these people? Oh, they don't know a damn thing about project management. Yeah, that's right, they don't, because you're not telling them. So we've got to pick that up. It's one of the reasons I'm here. I mean, I don't come to every country, you can imagine, but when I was invited, and I sort of did a little research, I thought this is a fertile place for being able to find people who want to, who lift themselves up through the educational process to become better at what they do. So I think it's important for me to sort of leave with that message. Have you got anything you want me to say? She tries to tell me what to say. No? Okay. I love this girl. I love them both. They're so awesome. It's crazy. Not good drivers, but awesome. So, all right, let me kind of open it. Can I open it for questions? Are we okay? Let's go ahead and have questions. We've got the building till 9 o'clock, I think. Questions? What do you got? Yes, sir.
For
Speak loud, I'm old and deaf.
for people who are aspiring to be project managers, especially the youth, people who aren't in management positions, what can we do now in our education or on our jobs? So what activities can we do to better prepare ourselves to further our process?
Yeah, great. That's a great, for a junior, that's a good question. That really is. That's in depth. Well, let me tell you, I think it's a very good point. Here's what's happening in the educational business. Over the last, I'd say probably 5 to 10 years, depending on what country you're in, project management curriculum has become a part of the college experience. It's a class, regular class. Many colleges in the U.S. give bachelor's degrees in project management. There are some master's degrees. I even know a PhD in project management. That's kind of a waste of time there, but a PhD in project management. So the educational system is trying to keep up. But you got to take it on yourself to, here's what I did. I started volunteering to run community projects. Free. I mean, I just go out and say, look, I'm a project manager. I'd love to be able to help you with this community development project. They say, oh, heck, we always need project managers. We always need volunteers. That's how you get the baptism, because now you got to learn, I'm running a project with no budget, no additional resources but me. So you want to figure out an effective way to do that. And that's the best way to do it, is to get the education if you have. I think there's some classes here in project management, are there not? Yeah. So they're offering those classes now. And what you can do with that is once the light goes on, once the fire starts burning in your belly, you'll start to say, well, what else can I get? And you'll start to look for other opportunities to do that. And pretty soon, we hire people right out of college all the time because they have had enough coursework and applied that in volunteer environments that they've proven themselves. We were on a radio show. What was that radio show the other day?
Immediate response or?
Yeah, the old guy with the red coat.
This morning? Today?
Was it today?
Spen's gonna say.
Yeah, okay, sure, that guy. He asked me, he said, well, if you were looking for a project manager, you come into an organization, you're looking for a project manager, where would you look? And this is what I told him, and this is what it should be your thinking as well. I told him I would look for those individuals in the organization that have extremely high performance levels. They are darn good at what they do. And I can take a person that's darn good at what they do and turn them into a project manager in a heartbeat. Because that's what they do. It's just a matter of sometimes even just terminology can make the difference. So I think as a junior is the time you start thinking seriously about it. You can pick some of the stuff as a sophomore, but as a junior, you're getting close to the real world. And that's the best way to do it. Go to a company. Go to a company that does the kind of things that we're talking about. Volunteer to work as an intern. I'll work for you free, and show them what you can do. And then when you graduate, guess where you have a job waiting for you? Right there. Right there. Internships are big time payoff in terms of project management because you get a chance to prove what you can do. We hire a lot of people out of college that haven't proven anything. They really haven't. I mean, I'm not degrading the students, but I'm just saying they haven't worked yet. Well, I want somebody that I know their performance levels are high, their standards are high, they hold themselves accountable for what they do. And so I think that's the best way to do that. Okay, that's a good question. What else?
Lee, just moving ahead, can you repeat the questions as they come?
Oh, sure, sorry. I forget it's on this. No, I'm very happy to be doing online. I'm so glad we did that.
Yes.
How many do we have online?
40.
100?
40 now.
20?
40.
Oh, 40.
No.
Now, how many were there? 100?
There were
Just under 50.
under this.
You see what she says? We have a lot till I introduce you.
No.
All right, yes, ma'am.
They have student chapters of the PMP.
Do they have one?
Student chapters, students can.
No, the answer is no. The question was, do they have PMI chapters here? The answer is no. These guys are supposed to get. I'm trying to leverage them into a PMI chapter. They're fighting it, but we're gonna do it. The beauty of PMI as an organization is that it's truly global. There are 305 chapters in the world. The biggest chapter is Washington, D.C. with 12,000 members. Japan is second with 8,000 members, and it goes down. But generally speaking, they average about 2,000 people. That's 2,000 people from around the community with varying disciplines getting together on an occasional basis and exchanging information. That's how learning takes place. So PMI, that's what they do. That's why they're allowing me to do this. I approached PMI a year ago. I said, here's what I want to do. And I told them about my plan. And I said, I'll do it, and I'll do it for free if I can do it when I want, where I want, and how I want. They bought it. They bought it. So that's what I've been doing. And the feedback's been good. I mean, we've actually had people contact us about job opportunities as a result of some of these sessions. So it's a way to network. Networking is where it's at. I've been employed a total of 4 days in my career. 4 days. And the reason for that is the guy I was calling to get a job was on vacation, of all things. Networking is what it's all about. You're not going to get jobs from WANAD. You're not going to get them from Indeed or Green Door, whatever those things are. You're going to get them from somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. That's how you're going to get them, because you need somebody to vouch for you. Yeah, oh, Lee, oh, heck yeah, we've been on him for, he's good. If you're looking for somebody, that's the guy. And that's the way you want to get it. You want to build that reputation so that there's no question, am I going to be unemployed? No, there's no question. You're going to have that. The question you're going to have to answer is, which job do I want to take? That's the job you're going to have to answer. That's a lot better job than going home to husband or wife and going, oh, God, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a job. So, I mean, I'm not guaranteeing a job, don't get me wrong. But it really makes a big difference. And for the ladies in the group, good news for the ladies, over 50% of our workforce in the United States are women. It's not quite that high in the project management field, but it's getting there. It's getting there. So you don't have to be a man, you don't have to be a woman, you have to be someone who wants to be a project manager. And we've proven that time and time again. In fact, when I hire all women. And my wife passed away, so it's okay now. But I hire all women. And when I go to these meetings, Andrew can talk about this, we take selfies. I'm a big selfie guy, okay? I got a note from PMI last week that said, why are all your selfies with women? Aren't there any men in this group? I said, oh yeah, but who'd want their picture taken with me? So the women force is big. And I'm going to say something that's a little questionable. I get criticized. I actually think in many ways, women are better project managers. They're a little more methodical in their thinking. They're a little more risk approach to think about risk.
I'm surprised.
And those are some attributes that are really important for project managers. And so I think that whether you're a man or woman, the opportunities are pretty much the same. I mean, it's around 50%, 50-50. So I don't think it has any relevance to that. Yes, ma'am.
There's a question from Russell Parker, who's joining us from New York. He saw this on LinkedIn and he decided to jump in. Russell's question is, with the PMP going 50% traditional, 50% agile, and the PMI-ACP becoming more and more popular, what are your thoughts, Lee, on hybrid PM since you're not the biggest fan of Agile?
Is he in the New York chapter?
What say ye, Russell? Are you a part of the New York chapter? He's gonna let us know.
Yeah, Frank Salatis is the chapter president. Here, I've got, one of the things about me is kind of fun.
New Jersey.
New Jersey? Well, that's even worse. Okay. No, just kidding. One of the things that I think is, it's probably good about me, I'm pretty truthful about this. Because I created the PMP, which there are about 1.5 million of them now, okay? I take a serious interest in the exam. And people will tell you, they tell me all the time, it's the most difficult exam they've ever taken. These are people that have gone through master's programs, PhDs. It's the most difficult exam I've ever taken. And the reason for that is we don't want just any schlock guy going into that job as project manager. They need to understand what it's all about and what it takes to be good. Now, the problem is with Agile coming along as it has, and it's sort of like gangbusters in the beginning. It's slowed a little now, but the fact of the matter was, in order to keep current, we had to make modifications to the exam to cover that new half of the business. I mean, 50% of what we call the PMBOK, which is the Bible of project management, it's now about 50-50, 50 predictive or waterfall and 50 agile. And so if I'm going to prepare to take the exam, if I were to prepare to take the exam, I'd have to actually study pretty hard because I don't know agile that well. But people who are in the working world, working all the time, I haven't worked since '84, working all the time, they're going to be exposed to that. They're going to be picking that up as they go into the working environment. So they don't have quite the mountain to climb that I would if I were to take that exam again. The missing piece that we worry about is that some people who took the exam 30 years ago still are PMPs because you renew every 3 years, but they haven't gone back and refreshed on Agile. They just they get their 60 continuing education units, PDUs, and they renew. Well, they're still just predictive people. I'd be one of them. So we're wrestling with that right now. How do we bring those PMPs that have been around a long time? How can they really still say they're PMPs when those that have come after them have much more knowledge? So it is an issue that we have to deal with. So I think it has to be. There's no alternative. Now, I've heard arguments that there's way more than 50-50. That's more like 70 or 80% agile. I can't confirm that, so I don't know. But that's something that we have to pay attention to. Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah, I don't think it's an either. I think one of the mistakes that we're making in the project management space is that we're treating it as either or. Either old PMP or new Agile. I think that for the most part, they coexist. Because if you're doing projects all the time, the truth of the matter is whether you old PMP, whether you know it or not, you're still using some of the Agile, what we now accept as Agile concepts. Sure. You've always been doing it. So it isn't either or. To me, it's more both and.
No, I think that's accurate. Yeah. No, that's accurate. There's no question in my mind about that. What we see is, unless you're in a real straightforward IT project, you're not going to see pure Agile. You're going to see hybrid. You're going to use some predictive. You're going to use some Agile. You're going to use what you need to use to be effective. That's the beauty of this process. Is it puts the onus on you to select what's the best. We call it now in PMI way of working. So we've given you some guidelines, but now you got to choose. What's the best way to do it?
I think you better explain the difference between predictive and Agile.
Say that again?
Explain the difference between predictive and...
Oh, yeah. Predictive. Now, this is again one of those complicated things. I'm not sure you'll get it or not, but let me try. Predictive means that the work that you're going to do is predictive. Is that cleared up for you? Yeah. Well, what it means is basically there's a process by which I can anticipate what's going to happen over time, and it's relatively predictable, okay? That's predictive, but we tend to gradually move to the word waterfall, hybrid. So now waterfall and predictive are the same thing, okay? But now we're using hybrid, knowing that there's gonna be a little this and a little that. So rather than it's an agile or it's predictive, we're gonna call it a hybrid. And that's what this is. This is a in-person meeting, but it's a hybrid because we got 40 or 50 people online. And that's the same kind of idea that we would have, okay? But you're absolutely right. It's not either or. No, there's no way. Some people like, the old guys like me, like to think of it sometimes, but it's not. All right, any other questions?
Yes, Lee, you have a question from Elva Carey. I am interested in the PMP certification. Should I be taking the PMP Agile instead?
Well, there's 1.5 million of the PMP phase 1, if you want to call it that. The ACP, which is the Agile Certification Certified Professional, is the second most popular certification we have, but there's only 60,000 of them. So that's because it was late to the game. I mean, Agile's only been certifying for 5-6 years compared to 1984 when we started the PMP process. So, but my answer, this may be my personal answer, you should ask more people. My personal answer is get the PMP. Get the PMP because that is rounded. You get some of both. So when you're looking for a job, for example, and you say, well, I got the ACP, and I said, well, no, our work's mostly predictive, you're out of luck. But now if I say I'm a PMP, I got 50% Agile, I got 50% predictive, hey, okay, let's talk. So I can't advise you to get ACP first. This came up I was in Bulgaria last week, and this same question came up. Which certification should I get? Well, I always say start with the big one, PMP. Yes. Did you have a question? Oh, you're just scratching your head? Okay, sorry. Yes.
What were some of the challenges you faced when you first started Project?
I'm sorry.
What were some of the challenges you faced when you first started with Project?
Not recognizing how important people's skills were. Because when you look at project management, you set out a plan, you have milestones to measure progress, and you start kicking butt, man. Get out there and get it done. Well, what I found was productivity is driven by the way I relate to people.
Yes.
And if I'm a tyrant, they're not going to be productive. They'll do what they have to do, and that's it. But my reputation came about developing high-performance teams. I had teams on occasion that would work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for 18 months. No overtime because of the relationship I had with the people. Because we knew how important it was to the organization, they were willing to invest that. So that's what I found most difficult. I didn't find the technical side. The technical side is just logical thinking. I mean, really, it's not brain surgery. It's pretty logical thinking. Where it falls apart is if you mistreat people, if you don't develop relationships with people, and you need those people, and they look at you and say, sorry, I'm not in it for you. That's what we have to do. So that'd be the biggest problem. How are you on a relationship development? Okay. You sure? All right, what else? More questions?
Do we have any more questions? Susie?
You can also ask the minister questions if you'd like.
See, you could volunteer.
Voluntold.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Good evening. My question is towards project managers. What is the key to working, transitioning from between different countries and different cultures? What do you think is the main key thing to have or to use when you juggling?
I found that, unfortunately, the biggest challenge I find, even in Saudi and places I felt like they'd come along, is that there's still this sense of anarchism, sense of, look, you do it my way, okay? and don't disagree with me. I mean, in some of these countries, if you disagree, that's the last time you disagree. So you got to be a little bit careful about that. But I think that's what I've run into more often than not. And even in those, even in Bulgaria is a class, well, Africa's even a better example. They've now begun to realize. I got to meet with the minister of, I got to meet with the president of Benin in Africa. And their big issue was just that. How do we get people in our country motivated to be project managers? How do we get them to motivate to do anything in project management? That's the issue of building the relationship. So what I told them was, and this is kind of what this is have a session with a minister there showing the support of the government. And then what happens is everybody goes home and goes, damn, the minister was there. We better do what they're going to go home tonight and say, oh, senator was there. Okay, we better do this. He's going to tell people about us. And so you got to look at it that way. It's sort of, it's called peer pressure. And we start to put peer pressure on. And now I'm going to go back to Benin, and we're going to hold a big conference like this. And the amount of people that are going to come are crazy because the president is going to. I mean, people are deaf and dumb are going to show up. The people they have no idea, but they know the president asked, so they're going to do that. So I think you have to decide what are the fundamental technical components of project management, and then what's the fundamental human side, because that's where things get done. That's where things get done. If it's going to take 12 hours to get something done, you can get people to work 12 hours for free if you have a relationship. Okay? All right, anything else? Did we hold them long enough? I mean, these are students. They got homework to do. Yeah, right. Yes.
I think I want to piggyback on something you mentioned earlier about relationships.
Okay.
I think I came to agree with that. I thought it was about the processes and understanding and knowledge areas. That is true, right? But I realized it's about educating heavily. It's about listening. It's about understanding what you want. And I came to understand one fundamental thing about quality. What quality is about everything. You could build this house and you might be the best carpenter in the world. Yeah, expectations. But you might want this specifically. And I'm just showing off my skill. But the problem is a very simple detail of this white.
Well, I think you have to understand that when you're in project management and you get a directive, let's call it a directive, okay? It's going to look like this. Unless you've got a valid reason, unless there's some justification, it's going to look like this. I mean, that's what we've designed, that's what we've developed, that's what we've processed. By communicating you with me, and you say, well, man, I don't think it has to look like that. I think there's a better way we can do that. If I'm closed-minded and say, no, God, we're doing it like this, then I'm being a fool. Because what I can gain from your idea, your innovative thinking, might take it to the next level. I haven't even thought about it. Yeah, no, you're dead on. In fact, I would go so far. I sort of said relationship development. I'm going to go just a little bit farther. Communication. It's all about communication, and effective communication is so important. It's like, well, that isn't what he said. Well, that's what I thought I said. Well, no, I don't care what you thought you said. Here's what you said. So we need to have feedback. We need to have understanding between us. If I say something and you look at me like, wait a minute, what? I don't get it. Well, if you don't ask me, I'm going to ask you, did I make that clear or not? Because if I don't, when am I going to find out it wasn't clear?
At the wrong time.
When she delivers me the wrong thing.
No.
Then I'm going to say, that just makes you look bad. No, what the hell is this? Well, that's what I thought you asked for. No, that's not what I asked for. What's the matter with you? But in a very positive way. I think it's important to understand. Okay? All right, what else you got? Yes, sir.
This question, if I may.
Yeah, stand up so these guys can hear you.
Can you come and answer on the mic? Online.
Okay, good.
Please can't hear.